We are now in the second video. Sir, what according to you would be the future of Agni Veer, looking at it from two diverse angles? On one side, the standpoint of the combat preparedness, the soldiers who would be there, and on the other side, career aspirations of these soldiers with the uncertainty during the first initial years whether they are going to be retained or not, and thereafter that mindset tagging along.
Yeah, that's a relevant question that you are asking me, Nilendra. But first thing I want to make it very clear, as far as I understand, that this mode of Agni Veer and Agni Path has been taken by the government because of budgetary reasons. Today, out of defense budget, we are spending almost about 25 or 26% on defense personnel's pensions, and which is a heavy burden on the defense budget. And that is why the government has brought in this scheme. The question that you have raised are relevant. There are some doubts whether our future soldiers will be able to acquire the kind of dedication, the kind of training, the commitment, the regimental spirit in those 4 years, including the training period. And the second part is that if 75% of those personnel, they leave after 4 years, what will be like their last, say, year in service, whether they will remain committed or they will start thinking in terms of leaving. And even if they leave, what will be their future? That is also a relevant question. I feel that now that the government has given this decision and we are going ahead, there is no dearth of volunteers, they are still coming. But as I said, we have to look at the combat aspects, because after all, this is our primary job, how good we are or we will be in a war or a conflict zone. And I believe that after about 5 or 6 years, we should have a relook at the whole scheme and make up our mind either to increase the whole period of 4 to 5 or 6 years, and similarly whether we want to take only 25% into regular arms services, or we want to increase that from 25 to maybe 50% also. So these are the questions I think they will need to be reviewed after, say, 6 or 7 years.
Right. Thank you, sir. Now, my next question would relate to the Armed Forces Tribunals. For very many years, the AFT, the principal bench at Delhi and the regional benches have been suffering from vacancies. And the other problem is that even when the benches are there, in very many cases their decisions have not been implemented. Now, having regard to this performance, do you think Armed Forces Tribunal has been able to fulfill the expected and assigned role?
Nilendra, if you recall, it was in my time that we started asking for tribunals, and I had a number of meetings with then Law Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley. Now, the fact is that AFT has been accepted, it's become a law today, and if we do not implement it in the manner in which it has been covered as a law, I think then we are failing in our duty. It's very sad to see that many of these vacancies have not been filled up, they have remained vacant. And also, it is also sad to see many of the decisions given by the AFTs have not been implemented by the Ministry of Defense. So I hope that the government will look into this aspect and make sure that the reason, the rationale for which Armed Forces Tribunals were constituted and turned into a law also, they are not wasted, and those are made effective.
Connected to this aspect relating to career management and the discipline that's being taken care of by the AFT. Sir, do you believe that there is a need for greater emphasis on ethics and integrity amongst the senior officer ranks? And if yes, how should this be done? And may I like to just add here, sir, that I understand that in the US Army, for officers above the rank of colonel, every second year or so, they are exposed to a program, a few days program on what are the perks of office and what would be viewed as abuse or misuse. So, having regard to such a practice, what would you feel?
Look, you know it, you've been in the army. Ethics and our value system, I think it is one of the most important aspects of our life. That is how we are trained, that is how we grow up in the armed forces, and I believe that this is something on which cannot be neglected at all, at any time. We should continue to lay emphasis on it. Unfortunately, it is not the problem in the armed forces, it is more a societal problem. And after all, our people come from the same society. And if these values and ethics are being diluted in the society, it will affect the armed forces. I do believe that we should continue with our system of punishing those, giving them exemplary punish if they go wrong in issues of integrity or issues of ethics, and keep on emphasizing these important aspects of armed forces life throughout the career, as you say, in whichever manner it can be done. But this is something which we cannot afford to neglect at all.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to the end of second video, and in the next video we would have your views with regard to the promotion aspects for the women as also the share of the infantry. Thank you, sir.